Welcome to our podcast, Talk to Me, Sister. I'm Cathey.
And I am Sarah, and we are twin sisters documenting our surrogacy journey, discussing women's health, motherhood, and all the details that led us here.
Our mission is to not only educate and inform, but to spread joy and hope through our story. Thanks for following along. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. We are excited to share this part of our story with you. So we also want to remind you to subscribe and review and share with your friends. We are just so excited that we get to share our story with you. And before we dive into the episode, I want to say something interesting. Sarah, I haven't told you this, but I was looking at our listeners. You know, you can see the demographic of our listeners, who's listening, how old they are, male or female, what country they are.
That's really cool.
And I wanted to shout out to the third of our listeners who are male, who are men.
Stop it. Like, no.
I mean,
serious?
we just anticipated that like maybe our husbands would listen and our dad.
Our dad, I guess, and then our two husbands. So like we knew that there was going to be 3 males for sure.
For sure 3. But there's a third of our listeners who are male, which I think is really cool. So
that's really cool. So a reminder for me and you to address the male audience every now and then. Because
we did include them in the fertility talk, so maybe that's why they're listening.
Oh gosh, yeah. How can we forget? We did mention that.
We did. Anyway, today we are talking about our first trimester. We have a unique experience, you know, going through the first trimester together as a surrogate and Sarah as an intended parent. So we thought it would be beneficial for us to share our perspective on the first trimester together. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's very rare in life, like you're in something incredible and you realize it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like this is also a unique opportunity because look, for me, especially as a surrogate, like I know something incredible is happening every day, all day, that me and you are getting to do this and that I get to take care of this baby, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I know that going into it, going through it every day, which is just
it's so cool. And
yeah.
I think that's why you and I were so adamant about recording and documenting our journey, because obviously we're sisters, we're twins, we're really close, but we felt like we were going to offer like very unique perspectives. And you're kind of talking to the audience who's maybe thinking about being a surrogate or a surrogate. And I'm kind of talking to the audience who's looking for other ways to conceive or grow their family, an intended parent's perspective. So I hope it's been helpful for listeners. But I think that also, it's been really cool to kind of watch us both navigate from different sides of it.
Yeah, because specifically the first trimester comes with fear, but we both have had similar and different fears. It comes with excitement. It comes with challenges the first trimester, but we've had different ones, but similar, you know, so it's just it's been so interesting. I think there's been some unexpected emotions during the time. So I know me and you have talked about you struggling with feeling connected. You kept going like, I can't believe he's mine, you know, or I can't believe that this is happening. I can't believe he's mine. And I said, I can believe he's yours, you know?
Yeah, you're like, and so, yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because I definitely want to touch on that. You know, when Cathey, you and I first started this podcast, we were like, we just want to have honest, real conversations. And while this experience has been so joyful, and Richard and I are so thrilled to grow our family, and we like still are pinching ourselves that you're doing this for us. I think that at some point along the way in the first trimester, I had to kind of have a come to Jesus and realize some of the emotions I was feeling that I didn't really expect to feel. You know, I think I'm a unique situation because I already have a little bit of trauma and fear associated with pregnancy. So, you know, with my past history, but, you know, it's not like I wanted to be pregnant again because of all the trauma I experienced. I'm like kind of thrilled to not.
Right. Like
But
when we were, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, wait, you go. We're at the doctor.
Yeah.
Doctor samples when I was like, I'm so thrilled I'm not the patient.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You read my mind, so that's weird. But
Twins.
yeah, that's what I was going to say is that you were like, I'm so glad I'm not the one being poked and prodded and my blood, like that first OB appointment, I mean, they took like 9 vials of blood and all the things. And you were like, I'm so glad that's you and not me.
I know. And it's funny because I was so excited for that appointment, but I think it's a unique situation because I kind of had a little bit of PTSD walking back into that office, and I kind of got like a lot of anxiety came back. But anyway, that was some little things I had to work through on my own. But I will say, even though I didn't want to be pregnant again, I think that as a woman, we have this instinct, innate motherly, we have hormones, we have this like nurture need. And I think that I had to come to terms with maybe there was a little bit of sadness there that I was never going to be able to feel the nesting and the first trimester feels. You start getting really nesty. You start feeling like you start seeing a bump a little bit. You start getting that pregnancy flow and feeling. And I think there's like you're like making a face like,
I don't think the first trimester is where I felt any of that. Like, I think me and you were like, when we're recording this, just for listeners, I'm 20 weeks on Wednesday. So I think we're far enough out of it that we are feeling all of that. But the first trimester was also pretty brutal. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I think for maybe intended parents listening, it's like you're so thrilled for the opportunity of growing your family. It's such a gift, but it's like there's some part of you as a woman that feels like, well, good or bad, I'm not going to feel those things.
Yeah.
And so you kind of it was interesting. I had dinner we had this couple dinner, Richard and I, with some friends of ours, and we sat down at dinner, and I was like chatting with my girlfriend, and she was like, so how are you doing? And I was like, oh, thank you for asking. She was talking about the pregnancy and everything, and I was like, well, I mean, we're so thrilled, and we're like, it's such a gift. But I think I had a moment of honesty where I was like, I'm kind of bummed I'm not going to have that like pregnancy glow. And like literally right as I was saying that, the waiter came up to my table, tapped me on the shoulder. This was like a waiter that wasn't our waiter, just came across the room and tapped me on the shoulder and was like, I just want to let you know that you're glowing.
Oh my gosh. I love that story. You needed it in the moment. And also you are glowing. I'm seeing you.
Well, that's sweet. Blair Skincare. No, I'm kidding. No, it was just like a really sweet moment because I talked to Richard later and I was like, I'm feeling anxiety because of pregnancy. I'm feeling a little bit of like insecurity. Like, what am I bringing to the table during the first trimester? And even though I was having those like raw, real feelings, I mean, they quickly dissipate when I realize the magnitude of this gift that's been given to us. And so it's just a sweet reminder to, no matter, you have these real feelings that you have to address, but it's not going to overcome or overtake like the joy and the thankfulness that we feel as a family. Do you know what I'm saying?
Of course. And I think it's okay to have both of those and have good days and bad days because me and you have talked about this just like privately as we've gone on. Like we've had unexpected emotions and unexpected not conflict, but like conversation about like, well, how do we take care of each other? Like I have to be careful about and take care of my body and my heart and my needs and my, things like that with also being sensitive to you. And so there's been challenges in that for sure.
There's been challenges, but I would say for people listening who are going through this journey, Cathey and I are twins, and obviously we tell each other everything and we know what each other are feeling. But if you are not that close with your surrogate, I would say like the most important thing that I felt with, navigating those emotions is just communication, like being, overly communicative with your surrogate.
Yeah.
Like, hey, and I have a friend who's gone through surrogacy in California, and she said the same thing. She was just like, communication is key, and I've been reading a lot about like how to feel connected to your surrogate, like during that first trimester or even throughout the pregnancy. So I think there's some cool ways you can connect. But I think from your end too, Cathey, as a surrogate, just vocalizing how you feel and how you're navigating all this with your family. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely been something we've had to just continue to ask each other about.
Hey guys, we are excited to share with you our new partnership with Your Superfoods. Not only do they have great tasting product, but they are on a mission to help improve people's health through the power of plants. I fell in love with their superfood and plant protein mixes after I was diagnosed and started my lifestyle change. One of the founders is also a cancer survivor, which is why I came across their story. I make a ton of smoothies and my daughter Charlotte loves them too. Your Superfoods is 100% plant-based, no sweeteners, no soy, no dairy, gluten-free, and non-GMO. So you can purchase with our code SISTER15 and you will receive 15% off your purchase, any purchase, not just your first one. So go to yoursuper.com and use the code SISTER15, SISTER15 for 15% off your order. Go grab your superfoods.
So how do you feel like you're experiencing these emotions that you kind of didn't anticipate? How do you feel like now you're connecting to this pregnancy as a family now?
Yeah. Okay. So normally if I was pregnant, I probably wouldn't have started the nursery already. I probably would have just felt like I had a lot of time, but Richard and we were just thinking about they don't see me with the bump every day. You're not connecting in the first trimester. We decided, we're like, okay, no, we are going to make his nursery. This seems like you're not even at your 20 week yet, but we're going to go all out. We're going to put the crib up. We're going to, start to fill the drawers. Richard took a weekend and put everything up. And it was so good for our hearts to kind of feel like, okay, he has a space in our home. It's becoming reality. We also named him.
Yeah, that's a big one to connect with him.
And we've started to, should I say his name on the pod?
It's totally up to you on the pod. It's up to you.
I want to say it.
Okay,
we're telling people anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, we named him John Ryder.
I love it.
John Ryder Sharp. Both of our dads are John, and our grandfather, my grandfather. And then Ryder was on our top of our list for boy names. But anyway, I think naming him too, we talk about him. We're like, when John Ryder gets here, and and it's helped Charlotte to call him by his name. And
so we took our kids to the trampoline gym, and I guess that was earlier in the first trimester. It was probably 6 weeks ago. And you told me you named him. You told me his name, and I cried. I felt like, oh, now I know who he is too. What does John mean? You told me that made me feel teary. I can't remember.
Oh, so I'm a big, big believer. I love meanings, and I love the name John. But Richard and I were like, oh yeah, that makes sense. We really wanted a double name. But John is both of our dads. And then I looked up the meaning. It means God is gracious.
Yeah.
And I just weeped. I
did too. That's it. Yeah. Especially after all you've been through and his journey to get here, it feels appropriate. Yeah. I feel like that's when I noticed your emotions turning a corner, is when you started to nest on your own and just go ahead and do some of that stuff. And Charlotte
was so helpful.
Yeah. And you started really talking to Charlotte about him being here, and she seems to really be getting it, understanding, right?
Yeah, she's full on getting it. She's so funny. His new nursery is right in between. It's like a Jack and Jill bathroom to her room. So I'll walk by and I'll kind of glance at, and she'll be in his room, folding his shirts or doing some little piddly things in his nursery. And I think that I kind of just stand back and watch her, because it's the cutest thing I've ever seen. But she's really, I think once we named him and we kind of gave him a place in our home, it's connected her in her mind, oh, baby brother is coming. She'll ask me every day, is baby brother coming today? I'm like, not yet. And so I think that's helped also my mom heart connect with him, and then us naming him and the way you and I talk about him, I think that has really helped.
Yeah. Did you have any fear? Like, I know that in the first trimester, we're all kind of holding our breath, and like, we've had good reports. We've had a strong heartbeat, clearly I'm growing and he's growing. But did you have fear, like going ahead and making his room and naming him? Because I know in our own pregnancies, like when I was pregnant with my kids and you were pregnant with Charlotte, that's why we didn't announce it or do rooms, because you're all kind of like holding your breath. Was it different this time? Because I'll answer that. It was different for me a little bit, but I want to know it from your perspective.
That's a good question. It was so different this time. I think I had such a strong belief in his existence. And I just felt like he had such a strong purpose in my life and in your life too, in our whole family's lives. I just didn't really, my anxiety has stemmed from other things, like, my past medical history, or being worried about you, being worried about me, like being worried about maybe him. It's not like I was worried about if anything was going to happen to like the pregnancy, if that makes sense. So I think it was just, I knew that I needed to make a home and a place for him in our house. And I needed to move forward with like believing that he was supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, huge difference.
It makes a lot of sense. And I think I felt the same way too. I always was really fearful about my first trimester with both of mine, because we had a pregnancy that we lost in the first trimester. And with Samson's pregnancy, I bled in the first trimester pretty significantly. So
I forgot about that.
I know. And they like label it like a threatened miscarriage. And you're like, oh my gosh, hi, can you not say those things?
Trauma. Yeah, that's like.
But I didn't. So I was really anxious in theirs, and I didn't have that fear here. I think like you, it's like there were other fears, and there was so much going into it that I just had so much trust. And I also had to trust with mine. I had a Doppler, and I would listen to their heart all the time and just make sure it was there, make sure it was there, make sure it was there. And this time, guys, Sarah lost my Doppler. She lost it.
Okay. Correction. So Charlotte was born after Sam, and you gave me the Doppler. Remember?
I did.
You were like, you can listen to your heartbeat at home. And to this day, like I cannot find it anywhere. But so sorry.
I'm joking. Mainly I'm joking. It's like a sister thing to be like, I gave this to you and you lost it. Honestly, it was nice because it was one of those things that I used as a control thing, just to be like, oh, I want to make sure everything's okay. But like if you can't find the heartbeat and then you feel crummy for a day and you're like all these fears and then you find it the next day. So really, I just trusted. I could have bought myself another one, but really I felt so peaceful about this one. And I felt terrible. I felt real sick. And so that's always a good sign. I didn't feel terrible. It actually was probably one of my definitely easier pregnancies, but that was an encouragement to me as the days went on. And so it felt good. It felt calm.
Good. Well, I want to know, like, from your perspective as a surrogate, like how it's been the first trimester, because that's what we're talking about here. We're like through the first trimester, basically. Like, how was it? Was it easier or harder than you expected? Was it similar to your other pregnancies? Like, how are you feeling on your side of it?
So my short answer is, I think it was as expected. Honestly, we had so much time to prepare for it and think about it, and prepare my body physically, prepare my mind mentally. I think it's the perk of IVF in a way. The perk of surrogacy is that you're like on a countdown. You're like, okay, I know I'm going to be pregnant. I'm just going to believe I'm going to be pregnant on December 7th. Like, it. And so I think it was as expected. I think the first trimester is always up and down. I knew because of my past pregnancies that I would have morning sickness, because I always have. And I was prepared. I was like, I'll get my meds ahead of time. I'll get my nausea bands ahead of time. I'll get everything I need. And going through it together helped a lot. My family, my kids, my husband, you guys were all very attentive to my needs, which helped. There was one day, just a side story, I was at Sarah's house and we were making vision boards for 2021.
Yes.
We were doing our annual ritual in the beginning of the year. We kind of like make vision boards. So I was sitting there and she was like, Cathey, you look kind of green. And I was like, I think I just need to lay down for a second. And It's those early weeks where it just hits you out of nowhere. I don't know if it's like a blood sugar thing or a blood pressure thing, but I just took like a 5-minute cat nap on your couch. And then later I went home, and then later that day, Sarah and Richard brought us, a big grocery bag from Whole Foods with dinners for a couple nights. So you guys were super attentive, and I so appreciated that. My excitement has definitely been different as well. My excitement feels like I'm going to be an aunt, And so I can't explain that. It feels so different, the connection I have with him versus the connection I have with my kids.
Well, I was going to say, you said this to me one time in private. You were like, I just think it's so cool. Like, I get this experience with him like early on, but I'm his aunt, also your twin, and I get to see him grow. Like, I get to see him like have this amazing life. And I was just like, how cool is it? Like that we could like watch him grow together. And, I don't know. That was really sweet.
Yeah, we're a close family. So like when you were pregnant with Charlotte, those are my thoughts. I'm like, oh, our kids are going to grow up together and all this stuff. But it's really amplified this time. I'm like, oh, I can't wait when he's 17 and I get to mess with him about, how I carried him in my belly and that he owes me money when he's a doctor someday or like whatever. Like I just like,
totally.
It'll be fun.
So actually I had somebody ask me this recently. They were like, okay, so when he grows older, like, are you guys going to tell him about this experience? I'm like, abso-freaking-lutely.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this is like how much love in a family to like get him here. Like, obviously we will. And I honestly think by the time he gets to be that age, surrogacy will be even more and more common than it already is. But yeah, absolutely.
Like what are you supposed to do? Lie to him? No. Yeah.
No. It's so silly. So I think that's really sweet.
Yeah. Speaking of kids too, once we hit 12 weeks, our 12-week ultrasound, we told our kids, and we are going to do an episode on how we planned on talking to our kids. We will play video or audio of us talking to our kids about it and kind of answer some questions because that was so exciting when we got to tell them. So we started including them once we hit kind of the closer to the end of the first trimester. And that was an exciting turn of the story.
I can't wait for you to share that video of Sam and Ruthie. I mean, that's literally the cutest thing I've ever seen. And their responses were so sweet. So I can't wait to share that. And then you also bought us this really sweet book. What's the title of it? It's the kangaroo book with the pouch.
Oh my gosh.
To give to Charlotte.
We'll link it. I can't think of it. Yeah.
I can't think of it either. But when we have that episode, we'll link that in the show notes because it's like such a sweet book to read to your kids when you're going through surrogacy.
So I have a question for you, Sarah.
Okay.
Did you have any advice? Like I know you've had a couple friends that have been parents via surrogacy and you have asked them, how to navigate some of these unfamiliar emotions as you get more into pregnancy and realize, oh, this is really happening. Have you had any good advice that has stuck out to you that has been helpful for you during this trimester?
Yeah, I would say, like, going back to my original answer, like, communication is key. Let your surrogate know how you want to be involved. Obviously, like, attending all the OB visits, the ultrasounds, all the things. Sometimes if you're using a surrogate, like, out of state, that might be harder. But I've heard a lot of times, this is different because I'm with you all the time and he's hearing my voice. But as the baby grows, he can start to hear. That's why he recognizes his mother's voice. So I've heard a lot of intended parents kind of like record their voices and give it to their surrogate, and the surrogate can play their voices. That probably relates to people who have surrogates like out of state. But you and I, Cathey, are talking about kind of like the birth plan coming up. And I read something that was really sweet that a lot of families, intended parents, will give their surrogate like a transitional item, like a little stuffed bear or something for the surrogate to sleep with, like during that last trimester, so that it gets like, percent. That way, when they transition home to the family, they have a little bit of familiarity. I thought that was a great idea.
I like that idea. I mean, I think you're right. It's like anything that you can help the baby have transitions. Like we've talked about, we'll do an episode on this, but we've talked about, what does the birth day look like? How do we transition this baby? So there's little to zero just trauma being pulled away and pushed away and gone somewhere. And there's so many great, easy ways to do that. And I love the idea of a little transition stuffy.
It's such a great idea. And I'm sure, like, Cathey, you and I have never done this before, but obviously there's a lot of emotions involved on both sides. So at the end of the day, the main focus and importance is the baby, is the child, and like making sure they have, their, good transition and feel safe and all those things. So I loved that. We're definitely going to do that.
Didn't you give me something? I'm ready for it. I'm ready to snuggle it.
We can give it to you anytime. Alex will be like, what is this like?
No, it doesn't. It'll just
between us.
It'll just fit right in because I'm already sleeping with like 9 pillows,
Oh yeah, your body pillow. No, Charlotte, out of everything, we're at the baby store one day and she like picked up this like stuffed llama, which honestly it's really, really cute.
That's cute.
But we'll give it to you next time I see you, and Alex will just have to deal.
He doesn't care. He's into anything that makes it easier on both of us.
Yeah. He's like, why is this llama next to my head? What is this thing?
Another thing that I'll mention is that we are planning a baby moon, which is fun.
Oh, heck yes.
In a month we are going. So in the first trimester, we planned and booked a baby moon for the 4 of us. So me and my husband and Sarah and Richard, the 4 of us are going to Mexico.
Heck yeah.
So that was a fun thing for us to look forward to.
Yes. We decided to do that day 1 when we were like, you're going to be our surrogate. Okay, we've got to take a baby moon, the 4 of us.
We did.
It sounds so fun, but 2, I think everybody needs it.
Also,
so that's really fun.
The 4 of us haven't done a vacation, which is weird. I don't know if the 4 of us have. We've gone with other people, but not just the 4.
We've all known each other since high school, so we've had a lot of experiences together and vacations together. But I don't think it's ever just been just the 4 of us.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
That's really fun.
I'm excited. So this episode, we are going to wrap up, but this is a lot. We just wanted to intro just about our emotions and just have a real conversation about some of the ups and downs of the first trimester. And it's really become easier, I think, at least for me, health-wise, in the second trimester, but also just we've gotten a lot of that off the table of like, this is what I'm struggling with. This is what my fears are. And so now we're kind of in a sweet spot, which is always kind of that second trimester. And then we are going to do a part 2 of this episode about the first trimester, where we talk a little bit more about health and nutrition and just that perspective. I'll bring in kind of my professional career and advice of things that helped me in the first trimester health-wise. We'll talk about morning sickness and vitamins and exercise, fatigue, all of that stuff that's really prevalent in the first trimester. That would be really
great. Yeah, I think that will be really great for a lot of women and pregnant women to hear. We are definitely excited for this second trimester. Like Cathey said, I think we got out a lot of like emotions and navigating this first trimester. We had no idea what this experience was going to look like at all. But overall, it's been really, really sweet, and really, God's been really gracious, and we've just been over the moon about it all. So
I know I'm kind of feeling, like sad that it's already halfway over. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Know. When I made that post last week, and I was like, we're halfway through. I was like, oh my gosh, what? Because it's been such a sweet experience. But I'm really looking forward to the second trimester. I feel like you feel better. We are excited. We're nesting. I feel like we're all like kind of over the hump of like the newness of everything. You're over the nausea. So I'm really excited about the second trimester. Yeah. And I'm excited about all the stuff we're going to dive into in episode 2 of this first trimester. So
stay tuned.
We'll talk to you guys soon. Stay tuned.
Bye.